Let's talk about copywriting versus design in your email campaigns. I'm Jamie, he's James, and we're from the Inbox Club. We're going to cover copy now and kind of design and copy versus design. If you want your headline, it's going to be copy versus design. Yeah. And spoiler, I think the conclusion will probably be is that they complement each other, right?
Yeah.
But you and I, we're copywriters, and we're copywriters because that's what we're really passionate about. And that's when we started our email marketing agency, that's what we envisioned, right? We didn't envision designing these wonderful emails that look beautiful. We wanted to create these conversational emails that sounded great as opposed to looked great.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Or at least they read in a really kind of enjoyable way, but then made money and hit the goals of the business we were sending them for.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think that we, as copywriters, thought, well, we want to be email marketers, not just copywriters, but writing copies specifically for email?
I think the reason why copywriting should be front and center, and I'm going to put my line in the sand here and say that if it is copy versus design, won't surprise you to learn that I'm kind of team copy, I suppose, although I agree, obviously both need to work in conjunction.
Yeah.
I think the reason why copy ought to be front and center is because people read emails. That is the verb associated with emails. You don't look at emails. You read emails. I'm gonna read this email. So I think copywriting is really what's going to determine a recipient taking action versus not taking action. You can have the most beautiful design in the world, but you're going to need excellent copy if you want that action to be taken. So when it comes to compelling our audience to do whatever it is that we want them to do, and that could be buying a product, but it might be replying or clicking on a blog post or responding to a poll or whatever it might be. Fundamentally, the copy that we weave around that is going to be the difference maker.
Yeah.
In a sense, to use an improvised and probably terrible analogy, if we're thinking of the quality of a theatre production, we might view the set design as equivalent to the email design, but the actors and their script and performances as being the copy, such that you can probably get away with having pretty mediocre set design if the actors and their lines are fantastic. If you have terrible actors with terrible lines, it doesn't matter how beautiful the stage looks, everyone's going to give it terrible reviews.
Yeah. I mean, that's a really good analogy for something that was thought up on the spot.
Thanks.
Was it
actually was.
It was,
yeah. Was as well.
Okay, good. No, I like that. And there might be people that will pick holes in that, but I think that does demonstrate quite well how well, the importance of copy, good copy in email marketing, and that whilst copy and design, they do complement each other, that I think copy stands up on its own.
Yeah.
And design probably doesn't.
Exactly. How weird would it be just to get like a really nice email with like barely any, that can work. But I think something that's really telling is that even companies and brands that pride themselves predominantly on design still tend to send very simple, clean emails. I think that says a lot, because the best designers in the world know when to use design as a weapon and when to let the words speak for themselves. And so one example is a excellent website called growth.design. Little shout out to them.
Yeah.
Their whole shtick is improving the UX of landing pages and it could be carts or payment processes or whatever it is. And they'll look at even things like how TikTok is designed and how it's excellent at making us stay on it for longer because of its design. So they look at things like that. Their emails look like they've come from my grandma. Yeah. And I mean that in the most complimentary way.
Yeah.
They are plain, boring. Here's the link. It's not even a button. It's just like a linked bit of text. This is our latest growth design deep dive. Take a look at it. Until next time. Yeah. Simple and easy.
Yeah, and the other example we were just talking about yesterday was the guy from Apple, right? Who then
started Johnny Ive.
Who started a design agency, right?
It's like a firm community type thing.
Okay,
but
sure.
effectively.
Yeah, okay. And you were showing me his website, and it was just black copy on a white background, right?
Yeah.
And that was for a design community.
Yeah.
And you from one of the foremost design geniuses of this generation, right? So
Yeah.
I think there is something telling about that for sure. In terms of we've argued the case for copy. Why should you not overlook design?
I think the common perception is that design is what distinguishes brands from your grandma emailing you. So if you're a brand who have invested some money in a beautiful email template, you're creating a consistent kind of visual brand that's going to be recognizable for your readers. It can help to accelerate the amount of time it takes for a reader to understand who exactly is emailing them and why. And so it can be really, really powerful if it's used well. I would argue to the contrary, however, that there is a tendency sometimes for brands to over-invest in their design and put a huge amount of importance on how it looks from a visual perspective, and as a result neglect the actual copy itself, which really is the lifeblood of the email. So this overemphasis on design can not only impact the copy. I think the other danger that you run is that you immediately appear too corporate. I'm probably going to open an email from my grandma, depending on what kind of phase she's going through. Yeah. But I'm less likely to open a brand's email if I see that little preview coming up and it's all really heavily designed. I'm probably immediately going to be a little bit more cynical about what exactly is in it.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you think? Like, how do you respond to a really lovely email? Like, does it make you more engaged in
terms of something that looks great? Because I think it's brand dependent. Right? I think there are some people some brands that I expect to receive that kind of email from. In terms of what the constant is, and what the thing that I always love to see is good copy. Design I could take or leave, right? And I think, but that's what I have learned to appreciate more is the copy behind what I receive in emails, or how I'm reading it and how it's grabbed my attention. But also, the cynic in me has also spotted bad copy as well, and how, I could overlook bad design or design that's, I'm not a designer, so maybe these things will just go over my head anyway, but I could overlook design that hasn't had huge amounts of time invested in, or might even be bad. If the copy's good and the design isn't hampering the copy's ability to get the message across, then, as long as the copy's good, then the message is conveyed, right? And
I would say, in terms of a really key takeaway, if you are going to design a template and you want to invest some time and money into making sure your emails look how you want them to look, your emphasis should ultimately be on simplicity, I think, as a starting point. The worst possible thing you can do with your email design is make it so elaborate that the messaging itself gets lost. And we have seen examples of too many images or blocks of text kind of grouped together in an awkward way, where actually it's quite hard to decipher what the email is actually saying. And that's when design can work against you, which is an absolute no-no. So try to keep it as true to what a plain text email might look like, and build around that, but ensure that there's still kind of a flow to the text itself.
Yeah, because it's got to be skimmable, right? And then
exactly,
there's going to be a message, there's going to be a story behind your email that you're sending, and the message, and you want that story to be front and center, and you want whatever you design or whatever images you put in, you want that to complement the story. And if you're a beginner in email marketing, one of the dangers also in over designing, which we won't delve into this too deeply because it's a big subject,
I know what you're going to say,
is deliverability, right? Because the emails, the big D is the deliverability element of it, because it's too large, and then that even then will affect your sender reputation as well. So that's something to bear in mind. You're never going to get penalized for sending an email that's too long for copy. Your engagement might go down because you've waffled on too long. But I was rewatching some clips from Mad Men. I know you love Mad Men.
I do.
Yeah, I mean, I loved it as well. It was.
Who doesn't?
I mean, who doesn't? If you're a marketer, then you love Mad Men, right?
Yeah,
That's why.
it's
Yeah,
true.
well, I think so anyway. And my favourite scenes in Mad Men were always the scenes in where he was pitching. And I don't know if that's just the salesman in me, but for me, I loved that because not only was he presenting the ads as the pitch, but also he was telling the story. And for me, that's what email is about, right? And it's about that message, it's about that story, and that's best conveyed if through copy, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know, and you see where he was doing the pitch for Heinz, and it was the pictures of the food. And there was no sign of ketchup or ketchup bottle or anything. It was just the pictures of the food, and the line was past the Heinz kind of thing, and you know, it kind of went over the heads of the people that were in the room. But for me, that the power of that copy, and the power of that kind of, I think he even says in that pitch, if you capture people's imagination or make an impression in their mind, then your ad can run all day.
Yeah.
You know, and I know we're not in ads here, but we are in marketing.
Yeah.
And you know, if you can get so in someone's mind, if you can capture their imagination, there's no budgets there, there's no limits, because your ad can run all day because you've captured their imagination. And I'd love to take credit for that, but that is
it's very nice.
You know, that was from Mad Men, and obviously the most famous pitch from that series is, I think, the Kodak carousel, where he's doing it. It's incredibly emotional, and one of the guys in there ends up like walking out because he's sniffling and crying or whatever. But you know, and for me, it's that storytelling element. It's so powerful. And that can only be conveyed through excellent copy.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we're about, isn't it?
Absolutely. In terms of how to take that learning and apply it to email, I would just say it doesn't need to be that you're weaving 1,000-word, you know, story about you woke up this morning and blah, blah, blah. But I think going back to what we said in a previous section, attributing some reason to an offer that you might be giving. You might wake up and think, I want to send an email that gives a 10% discount on let's just use Heinz baked beans because it's already been mentioned. Now you can just send an email that says, here's a 10% off voucher with a big button, cheers, and that's it. Or you could spend an extra 5 minutes saying, I woke up today and realised it was National Bean Day.
Yeah, which probably exists.
Probably, surely, right?
Must
or
have,
I woke up today and realised it was National Full English Day.
Yeah.
If that's not a good reason to give 10% off, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
That's barely weaving a story. You know, we're not talking about something super elaborate.
Oh, no.
But it's just a little bit of effort that creates a narrative around it. And how much stronger is that as a proposition than just, here's 10% off?
Yeah, and for me, beans are my least favourite part of Full English. You know, if
I had some this morning, you didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
I clocked it.
And for me, I think in that instance, if I saw, you know, if they were kind of talking to me about bacon, or they were talking to me about sausage and scrambled egg, you know, my favourite elements, and it was then, and of course, the Heinz beans, here's 10% off. That would have captured my imagination more, right? Because you're talking about the whole thing, you know, also that past the Heinz thing, right? You're capturing the imagination, and all of a sudden I'm thinking about bacon, I'm thinking about a Full English.
Yeah.
And if I go and get a Full English, it'll probably have Heinz beans in it, right? Because I'm sure their slogan is Heinz, what else, or something. Or so it's got to be Heinz or something, whatever it is.
Beans means Heinz.
Yeah, that's it. There we go. If you're a big Heinz fan,
That's
why you had beans this morning.
I'm a devout loyalist. Yeah. Let's go get a Full English.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So for me, I think we're in agreement that we'd prefer, if we were going to choose, if someone was going to hold a gun to our heads and say, you know, copy or design, we're going to be copy all day.
Yeah.
And there is an incredible amount of power in that.
Yeah.
And that the design should be the supporting element of that message.
Yeah.
That's our opinion.
Agreed.
You could take it or leave it.
Yeah. Come on, fight us.
Fight us. Yeah. Don't troll us. Fight us. Yeah. Send location.